Good afternoon, and thank you for joining our stream here on Facebook Live for our latest edition of Bear News.
Coming up tonight, we take a look at a controversy in this year's student elections, and we have another Bear News staff feature.
Bear News reporter Stephen Moss will also join us in the studio this episode with a shortage you might not have heard about yet. All that and more right here at Bear News. Tonight on Bear News, I'm Austin Sack. This will be one of our last shows of the semester as our staff prepares for finals, just like students all over UNC. But don't worry, we still have a packed show tonight with your top news stories and meteorologist Kiera and Bear Sports anchor Aaron Schmidt.
And I'm Catherine Stala. To kick off our show, we welcome Bear News reporter Stephen Moss, who now joins us in the studio. Graduation is just weeks away, and that means presents. If you're wanting a new game console, computer, or car, you might find there's some complications in getting it. Bear News reporter Stephen Moss is live in the studio and says the cause of the delay might surprise you.
Yeah, so here's a scenario. You walk into a Best Buy to get a shiny new PlayStation 5, only to find out there aren't any. It turns out Best Buy doesn't even keep any PlayStation 5s in their stores. They're primarily sold online. So you look at their website and it's out of stock. You look at Amazon, Walmart, and even PlayStation's own website, and they all say out of stock. So what do? Settle for an Xbox? No, those are out of stock too. Okay, I'll just buy a computer then. Nope, those are out of stock too. Okay, so who needs video games? Maybe I should use that money for a down payment on a new car. Sorry, all free automakers shut down their plants. So what's going on? Well, over the past year, there's been a global shortage of computer chips. That's bad because everything uses computer chips now. They're in game consoles and computers, obviously, but also in washing machines, refrigerators, and important to this story, cars. You see, when the economy tanked due to the pandemic last year, many electronic and auto manufacturers actually ordered fewer chips because they thought the demand wasn't there. Turns out with everybody at home working on computers, there was more demand than they expected. So now there's a lot of demand, but little supply. But besides the pandemic, the global shortage is compounded by several factors. TSMC is the largest chip manufacturer, and they're based in Taiwan. They're the go-to source for companies like Apple and AMD to get crucial parts. But most computers, game consoles, and phones are manufactured in China. Besides the contentious history between these two countries, former President Donald Trump ignited a trade war between China and the USA, raising tariffs and making imports more expensive. Another factor that might surprise you, water, and not just any old water, ultra clean water. See, computer chips are essentially made of layered silicon called wafers. Each layer of silicon needs to be rinsed before the next layer is put on. Every 30 centimeters of wafer needs about 2,200 gallons of ultra-purified water. So TSMC can use up to 4.8 million gallons of water a day just to make the component that powers your iPhone. So what's the problem? Well, Taiwan is in a drought, so they don't have the amount of water to keep up with the massive demand they're seeing. Both Intel and TSMC CEOs says this global shortage won't let up for another couple of years, at least until 2022. So it'll be a while before you can reliably buy a new PlayStation or Xbox. Live in the studio, this is Stephen Moss, Bear News.
Well, Stephen, are they trying to do anything about this?
Yeah, it's such a huge problem that the Biden administration is now involved. President Biden actually signed an executive order back in February, putting $37 billion into building more US factories to increase production. But building new production plants takes a while, so the shortage won't ease up right away.
That's bad news, and I was looking forward to getting a new camera soon. Thanks, Stephen.
This year's student senate election has been a wild ride, and it isn't quite over yet. 2 weeks ago on Bear News, we told you election results would be finalized April 16th, but that date assumed everything in the process would run smoothly. This election's controversy started when student body president candidate Jonathan Wiggins II ran with non-standard pronouns. Zim, Xerxes, and Salamander, After a public outcry, Student Senate clarified that the opinions of candidates do not reflect the Senate's position as a whole. While preliminary results still place Enrique Benavidez as next year's student body president, we'll have to wait and see what final election tallies look like. While Student Senate has not officially released results yet, they announced grievances were behind the delay. To learn more about the election process, visit unco.edu/studentsenate.
University of Northern Colorado President Andy Feinstein says the university's financial picture is greatly improved this year over last, but that tuition will still have to go up to keep pace with increased expenses. Feinstein and Chief Financial Officer Michelle Quinn talked about the university's financial health during a virtual town hall meeting Tuesday. UNC's revenue for fiscal year 2021 amounted to $177 million, a sharp decline from last year due in part to the loss of both new admissions and additional revenue such as parking caused by the pandemic. But the budget for next fiscal year is projected to be $193 million, which is a return to pre-pandemic levels. Some of that money will go to an increase in salary for faculty and staff, the first university-wide raise in 3 years. The university also expects an influx of new freshmen and state relief as a driver of additional revenue. UNC proposed raising tuition by 7% for undergrads, 3% for graduate students, along with a 3% increase in fees. Feinstein says those increases will generate an additional $4.5 million in revenue. Despite the increase, the president emphasized that UNC would remain the most affordable four-year university in the state.
And our hope is to utilize the resources that we generate on this campus to improve the experience, the educational experience on our campus. And that's our priority. Our priority is being a student's first university. And we are going to be utilizing these resources to do just that, to invest in our students, invest in our university.
Feinstein also said that 30% of students will not pay anything out of pocket. This is due to a planned $2.2 million increase in financial aid.
Tuesday morning, students, faculty, and the UNC community received an email regarding a new part of the Rowing Not Drifting 2030 plan. The email included a respectful behavior statement issued as part of the Empower Inclusivity vision element of the Rowing Not Drifting plan. The statement says students are first, meaning that the university wants to make the educational and campus experience the best it can be for students. This new policy statement comes following issues that occurred on campus, including the Turning Point USA rally that Bear News reporter Rowan Williams reported about last week, as well as the Student Senate elections. The goal of the new policy is to make sure that UNC is an environment where students are respectful to one another and feel respected while learning and living at the university. This new policy makes it clear that it is not meant to violate rights or freedom of expression, but it is meant to make sure that, quote, the campus environment is safe and supportive for our campus community to thrive professionally, educationally, mentally, emotionally, and physically. The email included a draft of the policy statement that was sent to students, faculty, and staff, along with times where feedback will be accepted via Zoom. Feedback can also be given at the policy draft link. The email came from Associate Vice President for Student Affairs and Chief Diversity Officer Tobias Guzman. For more information, you can go to unco.edu/equity-inclusion.
Well, it sure has been cold around Greeley lately, but as May draws closer, maybe we'll get some warmer weather. Meteorologist Kiera Bickers is in the studio with her current weather conditions. Kiera, what do you have for us?
Well, it's a nice day in Greeley today. Very few clouds in the sky, and it's not too cold like we've been experiencing for the last 2 days. Those clouds are rolling in from the west, and we're going to be seeing some snow or some rain showers later today in a couple hours. But the weekend is warming up. I'll have more of that with my full weather forecast. Back to you.
Thanks, Kiera. We'll see you later on in the show for your full report. 2 months ago, Bear News reporter Jordan Sherman visited Sunflower Ranch to report on the Rehabilitation Center. Well, Jordan is back to tell us what's new at the center.
Keith Gunn, the founder of Sunflower Ranch, has had his hands full for the last 2 months. He has built his pole barn, which will now be the main headquarters for the rehab center, and plans to start raising money for the concrete, framing, and drywall. He was also able to release a week ago 18 adult raccoons. He now spends his time taking care of squirrels and 4 new baby raccoons.
And they're pretty small. The raccoons we have are pretty small. So here in another week or two, we'll really start getting the phone calls for the raccoons where mom's either been killed or misplaced.
He says that the spring raccoons should be ready to be released in September or October. This should give them enough time to find a home and food before winter.
But more people think that they're cute and lovable and good as pets. They're not good pets. They are into everything. They will destroy anything you have. So if you have them inside, they will be in every cabinet. They will pull everything out of the cabinet. They will destroy your house. So they're not a very good pet to have.
It is against Colorado state law to have a raccoon as a pet. They are wild animals and do not make good house pets like a dog or a cat. If you happen to come across a raccoon in need of help, don't approach the animal. Instead, call CPW or animal control for the area you are in.
If they're wandering around doing circles and they're just disoriented and they let you come up to it and they're not growling, hissing, or anything like that, do not touch these animals. They probably have a disease, whether it's rabies or distemper, that you could, take back to your own dogs or cats.
Reporting from Sunflower Ranch in Brighton, Colorado, I'm Jordan Sherman, Bear News.
Wow, those little guys are pretty cute, at least until they're big enough to dig through your trash. For more information about the Wildlife Center, visit SUN, that's SON, flowerranch.com.
We've shown you how our director works, and last week we talked to anchor Austin Sack. In our weekly crew highlight this week, we talked to Bear News reporter and crew member Camille Kleiman.
I actually ended up in this program because I wanted to be surrounded by really smart, really, motivated people, and I'm really happy that I chose this major. I actually don't know what I want to do with my journalism degree. I know I want to move out to San Diego, California, and I want to have a pet frog, and I want to travel the world. So any job that can give me, those 3 things, I will happily take. I, am okay with the fact that I don't know what I want to do because I've got so many things I can do. This program gave me an incredible tool belt to move forward and, get a job, get any job. So hopefully, I continue on with that sense of perspective.
Everyone at Bear News is happy to have such a hard-working reporter, and we're excited to see where her future takes her.
When Bear News returns, good news for UNC graduates, hoping to invite more family members to this spring's graduation ceremonies.
And we'll take a look at a mobile food pantry that visited UNC this week. All that and more after this.
As the 2021 graduates prepare for their upcoming ceremony, UNC has announced that all students will be allowed to have up to 4 guests at their in-person ceremony. The number of guests allowed to attend has been raised after the Commencement Planning Committee and the UNC Coronavirus Task Force noticed the state's new Public Health Order 2038. The new order allows local public health agencies to approve plans for graduations and large outdoor related events. The new Public Health Order 2038 limits COVID-19 restrictions, allowing counties to implement regulations at the local level while still maintaining some requirements across the state. Weld County is one of 28 counties in Colorado that indicated they would not have local orders. Regardless, UNC will maintain all current COVID-19 policies, including wearing masks and social distancing, through the end of the spring semester. In a prepared release, the university said this will be the last update for the spring commencement ceremonies. Each college will hold its own ceremony, and they're scheduled on Saturday, May 8th and Sunday, May 9th. Congratulations, class of 2021.
A lot of UNC students, staff members, and the community at large face a continuing problem with not having enough to eat. To help ease food anxiety, a mobile food pantry came on campus Tuesday, and Bear News reporter Shelby Irwin talked with some of the people who made the visit possible. Mariah Nunez is the truck's driver and food handler and has a passion for her job.
There was this lady, and it was her first time ever coming to the mobile. And I remember she got in her knee, she started crying, and she made me cry. Like, a lot of people don't understand that we do this for the community, to the community.
The food pantry was a success, and they opened the door and gave a box of food to everyone who stopped by. The mobile food pantry was open to any student, staff, or community member in need. They set the truck up in a parking lot behind Michener Library and Candelaria Hall. GSA assistant Francis Toe helped coordinate the event along with 4 Michener Library staff members. The mobile food pantry will make a stop here at UNC again in the fall, so keep an eye out for events listed on UNC's calendar page.
After these short messages, Bear News will return.
Meteorologist Kiara Biggers has her full weather forecast, and we hope it includes the word warm. And we'll catch up with sports anchor Aaron Schmidt later on in the show. Stay with us.
3 out of 4 Americans know little to nothing about heart valve disease. Yet 11 million Americans are affected by heart valve disease.
If you have symptoms, please don't delay your care.
Physicians are trained to listen to the heart and detect any abnormal heart sounds or murmurs.
Heart valve disease usually can be treated successfully in all patients, regardless of their age, race, gender, or ethnicity. The key is getting properly diagnosed and treated in time.
Please look after your own hearts. You have a lot of living to do yet, so enjoy it.
Act now.
Listen to your heart. Listen to your heart.
Listen to your heart.
Listen to your heart.
Listen to your heart.
Listen to your heart.
Go to valvediseaseday.org to learn more.
So Kiara, both you and I are in our last semesters at UNC, and with only a couple of shows left, what do you have planned for after school?
Well, Austin, I'm very excited to graduate. I'm from Aurora, Colorado, so I do plan on going back home for a little bit and volunteering at my old internship, Aurora News 8, and I plan on getting my teacher's license in math.
What's more dangerous?
Yep. For now, though, taking a look at our current conditions in Colorado, Grand Junction 65 degrees, up north in Steamboat Springs 48 degrees, throughout the mountains, lower 40s to upper 40s, Denver 54 degrees, Pueblo 64 degrees, and out on the eastern plains, upper 50s to lower 60s, as well as up in northern Colorado as well. Taking a look right now in Greeley, it is a little warmer than what we've been expecting. So a high of 56 degrees and a low of 29 degrees and partly cloudy skies. And like I've said earlier, we do have a chance of some rain. Taking a look at our lows for tonight, Grand Junction 37 degrees, up north in Steamboat Springs 24 degrees, and throughout the mountains, lower 20s to upper 20s. Pueblo 36 degrees, Denver 34 degrees, and out on the eastern plains, lower 30s to upper 30s, as well as in northern Colorado where we are. Taking a look at tomorrow, warms up quite a bit, high of 59 degrees and a low of 32 degrees, and partly cloudy skies, but still a warm day overall. So really excited for tomorrow. Taking a look at our surface analysis for tomorrow, Colorado is dominated by a high pressure system, bringing in a little bit of those clearer skies. Colorado is dominated by some mixed precipitation of snow and rain. Affecting us, though, will be rain and possible thunderstorms, as well as out on the central U.S., some rain and possible thunderstorms, and possible flooding down in Texas and parts of Louisiana and Mississippi as well. Up north, and there's some snow as well. Weekend forecast, warm weekend ahead of us. Get out if you can. 67 degrees for the high on Saturday, low of 38 degrees. Sunday, 77 degrees, a low of 39 degrees. Monday, 74 and a low of 41 degrees. Sunshine Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. Partly cloudy skies, but still a great day overall. That will do it from our full weather forecast. Back to you.
Thanks, Kiera, for this week's forecast and for all of your help with Bear News. When we come back, Bears sports anchor Aaron Schmidt gives us a UNC softball update, as well as taking a look at how the Denver Nuggets are doing. Is the postseason a possibility for the Nuggets? We'll be right back.
What's more dangerous? A man who isn't afraid of death or one who's found everything to live for? I asked him if he was proud of me. He emphatically said yes, as he laid his pecan-colored head on my chest, and I went through my mind 1,000 times to figure out what that could possibly mean, and every single example ended in motivation for me. So you may not be afraid to die, but I'm more afraid to let them down. And I found something to live for, which is a dangerous motive forever fueled. See, your thoughts may be involuntary, but my actions are very calculated. I was a man with a plan, but now I'm a dad with a decree, and you can't take that from me. My sons ain't raised by no coward, and they won't be one either. If this be the measure of a man, the yardstick gonna need way more meters. I take it too far, so they never come up short, because I found everything to live for.
To Bear Sports, and we're glad to have you join us, Aaron. How did the softball team do this past weekend?
Thanks, Austin. Well, the team took the field for a 3-game series against the Weber State Wildcats over the weekend, and it just wasn't a good weekend for the Bears. They lost all 3 games, and they weren't close. The only time the Bears scored in the first game was in the 3rd inning when Matty Young hit a 2-run homer. The Bears wouldn't see another teammate touch home plate in Game 1 as they lost 10-2. In Game 2, it was almost the same result. Weber State took a 7-0 lead into the 4th inning until Maddie Bloodsmith and Paola Villegas scored 2 runs for the Bears to make it a 5-run deficit. The Bears inched closer as Maggie Thurston tacked on another run to make it a 7-3 game heading into the 5th inning. The Bears couldn't finish a comeback, and the Wildcats added 2 more runs to win the second game 9-3. In the final game, the Bears' Maddie Young extended her hitting streak to 6 games, but that was the team's only hit, and UNC lost 10-1. On the bright side, the Bears showed good plate discipline with 4 batters earning a walk. The Bears are now 9-22 on the season and 5-7 in the Big Sky. They'll try to get something going as they take on CSU this coming Tuesday in 2 makeup games that were postponed by COVID. And the Nuggets have been on fire the last couple of weeks, with the exception of the games against the Celtics and the Warriors. Despite these 2 losses, the Nuggets are still holding strong at 4th in the Western Conference with 37 wins and 20 losses. Just this week, the Nuggets took on the Memphis Grizzlies and won by 2 points in double overtime. This game was a real nail-biter after the Nuggets had tied the game at 116 in the 4th quarter. Each team got 9 points in the first overtime, and finally Denver overtook by 2 to win. Yesterday, the Nuggets went on the road to play the Portland Trail Blazers. After leading by 3 at the half, the Nuggets played a back-and-forth second half before finally coming out on top by a single point, 106-105. Next up for the Nuggets is a road game tomorrow against the Golden State Warriors. The 13th annual Women's Walk is this Saturday, April 24th, and it's actually happening in person and on campus. The event supports scholarships and equipment for female student athletes at UNC and has raised more than $400,000 since it started over a decade ago. Even though last year's walk was virtual, it still raised $17,000. While participants can walk in person, social distancing will be in place and masks are still required. The on-campus course is 1.25 miles and check-in starts at 9:30 a.m. at the Bank of Colorado Arena. Participants can also enjoy a complimentary breakfast before the walk. But if you don't want to get up early or you would feel safer at home, You can still show your support for the female student athletes by registering for the event online and walking wherever you want. If you want to participate online, registration is open on the UNC website until the event begins. You can also register in person on Saturday. Although it's baseball season, the NFL preseason is only 4 months away, and some football players are working on their skills during the offseason. Drew Lock is taking some time this offseason and still working on his skills with the legend himself, Peyton Manning. Peyton is a hero in Colorado for helping the Broncos win Super Bowl 50 and has the knowledge to help Lock become a better quarterback and to get better at reading defenses. Now, some Broncos fans have some mixed feelings about Lock about being the quarterback, but there's a good chance he can improve before the preseason starts. Also, there's a rumor going around that the Broncos will pick up former Panthers quarterback Teddy Bridgewater. If that happens, Lock must prove himself. He's the right person for the quarterback position. Regardless of what happens, though, it'll be interesting to see where Lock stands on the Broncos roster next season. And if you're a Nuggets fan like me, your heart broke when Jamal Murray tore his ACL last week playing the Golden State Warriors. The all-star point and shooting guard took a nasty tumble and caused him to tear his ACL and end his basketball season. Despite Murray being gone for the season, the Nuggets are continuing on without him. Murray's teammates Nikola Jokic and Michael Porter Jr. are doing their part to keep the Nuggets' playoff hopes alive without Murray helping them. The Nuggets are the fourth seed right now with only 15 games to play. Well, Austin and Kate, hopefully the Nuggets can get something going by the time the playoffs start, because it's going to be close.
Absolutely, Aaron, and thanks for joining us today. I think we can all say it's been nice to have majority of professional sports back to shift our attention to, but all of our thoughts go out to all the UNC athletes out there that have had a difficult semester with COVID. Isn't that right, Kate?
Absolutely. It's been exciting to watch all of our basketball teams fight their hardest, even amid all the canceled games they had to face. So thank you, Aaron. We'll see you next week for our last episode.
That will do it for our show tonight. Thank you for joining us, and we will be back next week on Facebook Live for our last episode of the spring 2021 semester.
We've had a lot of fun producing Bear News, and we've got a great show planned for next week. So make sure you catch us again next week on Facebook Live. Good night.